Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of the 1v1 show. If you're new to the podcast, it's a podcast where I'm on Nfinity and I bring on a new guest every single week from the esports scene. This week we have journalist Adam Fitch and podcast host Adam Fitch. This is the second time we've had to do this podcast, Adam. Fully down to me, I will say. First of all, though, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad. Bit of a headache. Bit tired, but esports don't stop, so I'm not going to stop either, man. Also, you forgot to say I'm an editor as well.
Come on, right, yeah. I mean, we're tired.
Come on.
I'm tired, right? I'm not going to lie. This is I've got all the excuses in the box today. We'll get through everything you do, because you do a fair few things. And again, this is weird, because we've already had this conversation once already. So it's kind of like we're trying to get through all the topics again, but we will, no doubt about it. So, again, straight off the bat, Adam, who are you? Mm-hmm. What do you do in esports? What's your relevance to the esports scene?
Okay, I'm probably formally known as one of the few people who just moans about everything.
Yeah.
But on like a professional side, I'm the editor of Esports Insider, which is a business-to-business publication. So we cover everything on the business side of esports, which is, in my opinion, at least, very crucial. Knowing what the fuck's actually going to go on the business side, because that's where all the money comes from and all the money's made, right? So. Yeah, Esports Insider, I'm going to say it, we're the leading publication. We're producing the best content when it comes to the business side, and I head that up. So, I do that. And then I also host the Adam Fitch podcast, which is quite similar to this podcast in a sense. Then I host the Hard Carry, which is a business recap weekly as well. What else do I do? I read a lot. But that's a lot of articles and shit. You know, I'm around. I don't know. I used to just comment on a lot and kind of provide commentary to things, not in the same way you do, but online. Yeah. And I guess that's where my relevance is, really. Those things.
Yeah. So it's fair to say you're a journalist, right? You're a journalist, you're editor, you're podcast host at the moment. That's the sort of the three key things that you do. We'll start with the journalism stuff then. How did you get into journalism and esports?
Okay.
Or general, because I presume you did journalism before esports.
Yeah, I used to write about like movies and television series and stuff, like
which is cool.
Like,
what's your favorite movie?
Stuff as well. Probably The Raid.
The Raid. Okay, I've not seen that one. But
Indonesian.
I've heard that's good.
Yeah,
isn't it like got loads of like really cool martial arts scenes and stuff in it?
Yes, it's some of the best fighting scenes of all time, without doubt. But nonetheless, I used to write about that stuff, and then that all started when I started my own blog. I did like 1,000 posts in a year, just getting better. I didn't really think it would lead to anything paid, but I was doing it alongside my day job, which was digital marketing, because I was just into movies and TV, you know. And a bit of writing. I did that, and then the person I was running the site with at the time, well, I was running it, and he was writing a little bit. I'm not going to give him too much credit there, to be completely honest. He started getting paid by a website called CBR, which is one of the biggest comic book websites. So I said, if you can do it, I'm going to be able to do it as well. So I applied, got in, and worked my way up there. And then in January of 2018, I decided I'd try and take my writing skills that I'd built up over the past couple of years into esports, and Googled esports news, found other websites that were relevant, because I'd only kind of followed Call of Duty at that point, even though it had been at that point, it would have been 10 years, a decade then. I wasn't familiar with the entire industry. So found Esports Insider on there. They were one of the top results for that search term. Sent an email in. Sam Cook, the managing director of Esports Insider, got back, said he'd give me a 2-week trial. I did that. I did okay. Not great. I look back now and the articles are shit, but you get better as time goes on. And that's where I started, basically. So I started writing elsewhere, and then just reached out to people, cold emailed as such, really, and got kind of lucky with the trial, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, because I remember the last time we had this, and I found out that what was it, 2018, 2019, around that?
Yeah, January 2018 is when I started. Yeah.
That is not that long ago. I know it may seem it now, like 2 years is obviously a long time, in any sense.
In the esports especially.
Yeah, but still, to have risen, I think, in the way that you have in 2 years, in that period is quite high. You've sort of managed to collect a couple of accolades along the way. One of which we spoke about a little bit last time, which is of course your nomination. I think you won Reporter of the Year, right, in 2019 for the UK Sports Awards.
Yeah, I was nominated in 2018 and won in 2019. Yeah.
But you did have I remember last time your opinion on the Sports Awards as a whole, I think, is a little bit. Yeah.
What, bad? Is it bad?
Well, I don't know, not bad, but like how you view the esports awards, I suppose.
Okay.
Is
I just think I understand the need to recognise people and reward them for doing good work and such, but I think the way in which things are set up at the moment is pretty shit. The esports awards in general are not good like the main ones, which are in Arlington, Texas now. And then, yeah, and what we discussed last time about the UK esports awards, basically, it wasn't so much me winning, it was just like there was no one else to really win it. Because Duck Moriarty, who co-won it, I believe, with Mike Kent the year before. Like, he'd stopped writing. Mike Kent doesn't write at all, so he shouldn't be winning a fucking report or award. You know, like he does like high level shit at Deserto. Jake Hale, he kind of went a bit quiet when he was editing at Jinx, and didn't really do much there. So yeah, the people who I was nominated alongside, really, like Alicia Wicks, like no good writing there. It's just crazy. And then some Fortnite Twitter account which didn't actually write at all. It just kind of tweeted shit out.
Yeah, Fortnite
So yeah,
BR News, right?
didn't. You know, Fortnite BR Live.
Yeah, something like that.
I think. So yeah, I don't feel like I won it because I'm like outstanding or anything. It was just because there wasn't really much competition. And early prediction for this year, I don't really think much is going to change.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. I mean, no doubt you'll be nominated again, right? 100%, if not winning again.
I think winners get an automatic nomination.
Renomination. That's a bit
yeah,
weird.
which is bollocks.
Because what if you haven't done anything in the past year? Surely you can't be
That's
nominated
what happened with Moriarty with Ducky. He co-won it in 2018 and then was a finalist in 2019 without really have done much, and he'd admit that himself. So yes, it's a weird one. Not at the moment, I don't really think because anyone has done too much. I've done bits and bobs. I mean, in isolation, if you look at the big work I've done, like as no one in the UK, if we're discounting Richard and Thorin, because we seem to do that. I don't know if it's just because I don't live.
I think
in the
that's
UK
a general thing, though, right? Like in the UK Sports Awards, I think generally speaking, the categories don't really have the best UK talent. I think personally.
In some cases,
casters specifically, right? Because they don't talk very. I think like a lot of the time you get casters that are overlooked from the UK and presenters wise as well.
I'd say so, but as we say, it's basically like a popularity contest. If you beg people via Twitter to tweet go and nominate you for the award, then you're more likely to get it than if you're not. You know, so it's obviously a popularity contest, and that brings along its own kind of flaws. But as I say, it's harmless. Like it doesn't really hurt anything. It's just I kind of question the validity and how much stock we should really put in them. That's why my award has moved once since I got it almost a year ago now. You know, I don't really care.
But would you be sort of like more content with the big boy, the esport award? Would that be something that you? I mean, because I don't know. What's your opinion on getting esports awards in general? Would you kind of like be happy if you got one? Like, how would you feel?
No, I'm one of the people who genuinely doesn't require validation from others. As long as I know I've done a good job and my boss thinks I've done a good job, I guess. As long as I'm not getting fired. That's the level of external validation I need. No, I don't need people tweeting out saying, "Oh my god, he really deserved to win that," or "Well done, he's won it and he's put out the best work." It's just like if I've put out the best work, then that speaks for itself. So I don't really care if I got it. It'd be cool. I don't think I'm at that level by any means, and nor am I kind of desiring to get to that level. That's certainly not like the Northern Star I'm working towards, trying to be journalist of the year. It's one of those things where it's like a byproduct of good work, and I think the good work is more important than the award by far, in fact.
That's fair enough. So what would you say you are working towards then? Because you've like I've said before, you've had a great rise, right? I mean, 2018 to 2020, you're now, in my opinion, at the very least, one of the most prolific esports journalists in the UK. Specifically in relation to Call of Duty, you've made that. You haven't. I mean, you've said before you haven't done that much in relation to Call of Duty, but still, when people discuss Call of Duty journalists, you're up there. You've made some sort of waves in the scene. So, what for you is sort of the end goal, as it were, with journalism?
Fuck me. The thing is, mate, I've been thinking about this for probably 3 or 4 months now. It's really hard for me to kind of create a milestone or a goal. I'm that kind of person as well. I'm very goal orientated, and that really helps drive me. And I've not actually realized where I want to be yet. I think the media landscape is somewhere for me. So that's why I've been doing the more video stuff and the podcast stuff as well.
You want to be like a presenter or a host type person?
I don't know. That's the thing. potential. So I'm just trying to get my finger in as many pies as I can at the moment, and kind of work out what really grabs me and what I excel in there. Because I'm enjoying doing the written work. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't know where I'm heading, and that is a terrifying thought for me if I really think about it. But so it's more a case of I'm just putting my head down and grafting and keeping going, and as I say, doing as much as I can, trying to like widen the pool of shit that I can do, and then from there I can kind of pick and choose where I want to go and what I want to do, I guess. So yeah, I certainly don't have an end goal, but it's not an award. I tell you that much for free.
Not an award, 100% not an award.
No,
that's fair enough. I like that quite a lot. It's kind of like, you know, you're not superficial in any way, right? An award isn't going to be sort of, it's not going to gas yourself up. You just sort of, you know, the quality of your work, you've accepted that, and that's I think I guess an attitude that I wish more people would take in esports. It's a case of sort of, if you know you're good, you know, you don't need to shout it off the rooftops.
Yeah, it's enough. There's a lot of people who beg it on Twitter and stuff like that, you know, and it just it bewilders me. It just kind of reeks of insecurity, if I'm honest. But,
people who put polls up, that's what gets me. People who put polls up like, who's the best caster or stuff like that. That's the stuff that.
And that's harmless within itself. It's then you just got to keep in mind that it's all opinion based. So if it kind of if you're one of the people on the poll and say you're the last pick, like, or the lowest amount of votes, like, it doesn't matter at all. Realistically, you're still making money and happy doing what you're doing and hopefully improving. Like, that's the main thing. Yeah, it's the damage from the people on the other end of it. Strangely enough.
Yeah. It's kind of like, one of the things I always talk about with those, or I always think when it comes to polls, is kind of like the opinions of the people that are voting in the polls, and this isn't to discard any regular opinion. Like, they don't know what goes into being that position, if you know what I mean. Like, what makes a good, like, caster for me personally, or I guess even in your case it would be a journalist. No one knows what makes a good journalist, if you know. Like, you have all those basic things like basic coherency in terms of writing, but like, you know, all the specific stuff, like, I guess, I mean, even I don't really know, like, the very specific things that you need to be able to have to be a good journalist.
Yeah, I'd say, like, one of the biggest aspects that even a lot of journalists, or like wannabe journalists or novice journalists, whatever it may be, kind of overlook or forget, I don't even realize, is that networking is probably 50% of the job. Like, because you need to be able to obtain the sources from somewhere, right? Or you need to have the people in place to confirm a story, right? Or you need to know where to at least look for stories. So yeah, reaching out to people, however it may be, cold emailing, cold calling, trying to grab a coffee if you're in town for an event or something like that. Like, is all that side of things that go into it that no one really appreciates outside of the trade. So, like, your networking skills and ability to not give a fuck about people saying no to you, or ignoring you altogether, like, that's a huge part of it. And as you say, it's hard to know. Like, I don't know what goes into casting. I don't see all the preparation that goes into it and everything, you know. So it's hard to judge, and it feels almost too surface level for things to matter at all when it comes to, like, a Twitter poll.
Yeah, a Twitter poll, which is like the most common sort of I guess validation point. I don't know if that's what you'd call it, but sort of like that's sort of the one, isn't it? It's like, Twitter poll, 4 people, who's the best?
Yeah.
And it really does simplify things down quite a lot.
Well, ESPN are doing it now, where it's like, who's going to be the most popular?
They've done that for years, though, right? I mean, they've had that.
It's just like whoever's the most popular Twitter user, it'd be Gataga or Ninja. Like,
yeah. Do you remember when I think it was like there was a load of uproar last year? I think when Scump lost to some FIFA player or something, and everyone was like, he didn't even tweet it. It's like,
exactly,
it's why he didn't win.
It just shows how little he don't give a fuck, and I am, like, applaud him for that 100%.
Yeah, why would you? It's like, it doesn't get anything. I don't know, actually. Is there any prize to the ESPN 64? I don't quite think so.
An inflated ego.
Probably that's yeah. I mean, I could do with an inflatable. That'd be cool. Then I'd try. Then I'd definitely give it a bit of gas. But yeah, so I guess that's a good point, actually, to sort of seg into is what makes a good journalist? Like, what is it for you personally that you say, outside of the networking, which you mentioned? What is it that is the secret to being a good journalist? Because there will be a lot of people listening to this podcast maybe who would like to get into journalism and maybe just don't quite understand what it is that gives you an edge over someone else, or even like the top journalists. What do they do that puts them above the rest?
Okay, well, I think the thing is with journalism, I think there's like 50 things that go into it. So, of course, being a good writer helps. Of course, the networking side helps, but also like being really meticulous. Like you've got to really have good attention to detail because every part of a story matters. If you get one part wrong, that's the part people will remember, not the 99% of the article that was right. So it's many little things, but I'd say yeah, like really scrutinizing the information that you get and ensuring that it's true and that it's factual. Because there have been articles that have gone out there, say like the Team Liquid article that went out by Will Land, who's a great guy and has done great work outside of that one piece, where he thought he heard, I think it was NAF being benched, which didn't turn out to be true, where he heard it and then I don't even know if he got it verified by a source or not, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, it's just the standard practice is if you find out a piece of information, you get it verified by two sources that you trust wholeheartedly, who would know. And some people opt not to do that, and then that's how they get burned, And it's just it's knowing who to trust and how much trust you can place in them as to then how confident you are with the story, basically. But there are some journalists who just get people to who are from official places and sources. So say if it's about Optic Gaming, for example, I don't know, back in the day, someone within the Optic camp would reach out to them and give them an anonymous tip as such, and then they'll be able to verify from there. Some people are lucky like that. I'm not going to name any names, but there are a few big journalists who get their information that way. And that comes down to who you know, not what you know as well, which leads back to networking as well. But also having a bigger name leads to you getting more tips and more sources. It's a tricky one. So yeah, I'd say it's many different things. You have to kind of have a lot of kind of strings to your bow, really. And it's not just a case of being a good writer, or it's almost like it's almost being like a detective. Like you have to look at absolutely everything and work everything out, come at it from different angles to make sure everything you've got is correct. If we're looking at like an original piece or something like that, if it's just like news writing and reporting, a few different skills go into that, and that's mainly sourcing stories before other people.
All right, apologies about that, guys. I had to cut real quick because we had a small issue, or I had a small issue on my end. Regardless of that, so Adam, you were just talking about what makes a good journalist, and yeah, so in general, I guess just being good at networking is what you mentioned before, right? That was one of the key things. Verifying your sources, which I'm very surprised about, right? Because I feel like if you're a basic, that's basic to me, right? Obviously, I'm not a journalist. So this is the naive opinion of someone outside journalism, but to me it just seems like if you're going to say something, make sure what you're saying is correct, or at the very least sort of verify that it's not dumb what you're about to say.
Well, it's not rocket science, but the hard part is actually getting the people to verify it and making sure you're fine with it. Like it's not easy sometimes. Just to say, when I was reporting on Infinite Esports and Entertainment being bought by Immortal.
That must have been hard to verify.
So Optic. Yeah, exactly that, right. So basically there were meetings going on where only like 5 or 6 people were involved, and they're very high level people, right? And I can't go any further than that because I start to jeopardize shit. But like there are situations where it is incredibly difficult to even get a hold of someone to then get them to trust you.
Yeah.
Enough to do it, because I mean, like if you're reporting on those deals, shit could go wrong. You never know. So like it can be incredibly difficult. So anyone can come in and do it. Anyone can hear a rumor and then say, okay, I'm going to write it and put it out there. But it takes a lot occasionally to put shit together that's 100% accurate and 100% you kind of safe and sound in what you're writing. And also the amount of stories that myself and other journalists in the scene are sitting on that I'll never be able to put out there because I've just never got it verified. Like I've heard it from one person who I trust wholeheartedly, but I've never had anyone else on the other end of it be able to confirm it for me. So I'm probably sitting on 30 like absolutely fucking huge potential stories at least that I've just not been able to put out over the course of 2 years. So like that's very difficult. Not being vocal and telling everyone about these little bits that I've heard that might not be true because it could be damaging and absolutely false. Like that's not an easy thing. So picking and choosing what's right and what's the right story to pursue, though anyone can get into a situation where that can happen, it takes someone decent to actually pull it off.
Yeah, that's fair enough, I suppose. And it's one of those little hidden nuggets, I suppose, that people don't think about when it comes to journalism. I think as an outsider, if someone before talking to you, I suppose, and even now, if someone was to ask me, what would you think it takes to be a journalist? I'd probably just say, be coherent and a wide vocabulary, I suppose, is like another small thing.
That make you a good reporter or writer, maybe, but
true. So yeah, that's sort of journalism and what makes journalism, I guess. But moving on, again, as part of yourself, we'll talk about your podcast a little bit, because you mentioned this very briefly at the start. You mentioned that you do have 2 podcasts. Your first, which is just sort of the Adam Fitch podcast, right?
correct.
Why did you want to do your own podcast?
Okay, being completely transparent, you look at the most revered or most popular journalists in esports, right? Who have you got? You got Jacob Wolf, who does a lot multimedia wise on ESPN, so he's not just writing, but he's on the shows and the Twitch streams that they do. You've got Richard Lewis and Thorin. They create regular videos and stream often, and have got podcasts which have been going on for years. DK, he's doing more video related stuff, and then you think, right, why am I not being put in the same kind of ranks as other people? So there's like I won't gonna name drop, but like if you look at other people at ESPN, so you've got like Emily Rand and Ashley Kang and such, right? I don't think they're worthy of being called the best journalists, but people do revere them that way, and that's because they're also showing themselves in different lights and giving their opinions and stuff. And you've got to be very careful as a journalist to not give your opinion on things and to be as non-biased and as kind of definitive and objective as possible. But when you're streaming and on videos and clearly not delivering like a journalistic effort, you can provide your personality, and that personality there, if it's an endearing one or at least an insightful one, will actually build a rapport more between you and viewers. So I say all of that basically to say it's to put my face out there more and to build up a bigger audience, basically, who care about what I do outside of just breaking stories. That's basically the aim of the game. But as I also said earlier, I'm trying to work out where to go, whether I'm any good at this video stuff or not, and speaking stuff, or if I should just stick to being behind a keyboard instead of behind a web or in front of a webcam. So yeah, it's kind of a hybrid of those 2 reasons, really. But definitely to put my face and my personality out there more is the main one.
Yeah, I mean, like we when we spoke about this before in the first attempt at this podcast, with when my audio is messed up, we spoke kind of briefly about the fact that you sort of said that the podcast was a long game. So essentially, this is like an end game, like because viewership in podcasts is something for me where I've always struggled. But it's one of my biggest flaws is that I can't start a project and sort of follow it through properly, because I feel like it's always getting past the first few hurdles. It's so hard to do. It's building a viewership of any podcast. For you, sort of, are you content with the podcasts that you're putting out, like the viewership and such? Like, what do you feel like about that?
Okay, well, I think you've got to look at the objectives of what you're doing, right? If you're doing it just for in the moment, then that's fine, but you're never really going to be content. But if you're doing it, if you're playing the long game, so for example, I'm just trying to put my face out there more, right? So if I do it for a month and then stop, I've not really done much. But if I continue for 2 or 3 years, even if I've got 10 viewers when I start, and a year later I'm on 20, a year later I'm on 30, I've grown. Right, I've grown 200%. I've been consistent, so my face has been out there a lot more. And yeah, it's just, I just don't commit to projects that. Well, I have to commit to a project if I'm going to start it. So even though right now the numbers that might not be great, I don't have a fucking clue where they will be in 2 years' time. So I'd be doing myself a disservice by stopping now, say if I get 50 views, because I could be getting 50,000 views in 2 years' time. You don't know that. And that what if, that kind of, or that the concept of maybe regretting something is worse to me than just filming for an hour a week and uploading it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all in on stuff. I'm going to be doing these for at least 2 years, even if nobody watches.
Yeah, I suppose like the positive of that though, even if you don't have a good viewership now, and this is something that we brought up last time, is that at the end of the day, if you do get those 50,000 views down the line, there is an incredible backlog of podcasts that you've created. Even though like maybe the topics might be out of date, like maybe you'll be discussing someone who might maybe be the CEO of a massive company down the line, 2 or 3 years down the line. You've got this massive backlog of content which people can enjoy with yourself as the center personality.
Of course.
Of each podcast, right? So yeah, that's sort of, I think personally the big positive of having that much content. And it's not just the one podcast that you're doing. You're doing a second podcast as well, or a second piece of content, I should say, in the hard carry, which is more of like a roundup thing, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to, and I'm still doing it now in an attempt to launch more soon, but trying to identify areas that are being underserved or not served at all, and the business side of esports is massively underutilized in terms of video and audio content. So the Adam Fitch podcast, which is the first one I launched, I speak with people who work in the industry, a different sector each time, so different insights into what goes into esports, and over time it should build a pretty good picture as to what's going on and the people that make it what it is. And then this second one is called the hard carry, and so it's a 15-20 minute roundup each week. If you don't fancy going through 20-30 articles each week and identifying which ones are the most important ones, then I pick them out for you, and instead of just saying, oh, this has happened, I will also explain why it matters, or perhaps, even though it's an important story at the moment, why it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I just help to dissect things a bit more, provide like a focused, more direct snapshot of what the fuck's going on each week. And I feel like a week is a good period of time to do that. So that's probably been going for a couple months, maybe 2.5 months now, and the first podcast has probably been going for almost 4 months. So slowly but surely building up, and just trying to serve the business of esports, because it's massively underrepresented and underutilized in esports in general, especially on the content side. So
yeah, I mean that's sort of what makes your content unique, right? Because this is something that I think is big in terms of podcasts. Now, even my own podcast, even this very podcast that you're on right now, I still don't feel necessarily like there's anything unique to it, right? There's nothing like it's just my podcast essentially. Do you think that's a problem generally right now? Because beforehand, you think only a few years ago, and I guess this is specific to Call of Duty, but it might be a wider problem as well. There was fuck all in terms of podcasts. There was literally nothing. Like, nobody was doing podcasts. It was dry as hell. But over the course of 2 years now, in Call of Duty specifically, you've got a shit ton of podcasts. You've got Spitfire. You've got Codtacular, I think it's called, which is Big Timers, and Pucket's one. I think we forgot the name of that last time. You've Break Time Boys is one, Hard Points. So there's so many. There's so many podcasts. Do you think it's kind of like problematic in a way, or is it good that there's such a wide variety of podcasts available now?
I mean, I don't think it particularly damages the scene as a whole if there are a shit ton. It basically just means you can pick and choose between them. So it's good from a consumer standpoint, where you can just pick and choose your favorite personalities or the style that you like the most, and having that kind of option there, that choice is a good thing for you, right? From the scene point of view, like, more content the merrier. I don't really think it hurts there. The only people it could hurt are the people actually doing the podcasts. Because if you had 2 podcasts going at it, you're only dividing the total potential viewership by 2. Whereas if you've got 5 or 6, then it's being spread a lot thinner, presuming they've all got kind of their own set of fans, Like, if say, Spitfire had 1 viewer, then that obviously skews the rest of the example, but it doesn't. Like, so they've all got their own viewership, and it only really hurts the people actually doing it in terms of potential viewership. I don't think it hurts the Call of Duty scene in any way, and I don't think it hurts the Call of Duty fan base in any way. So in the ways that matter, I'd say personally it's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing at all. So yeah, I mean, like I said, you've made a podcast that sort of stands out. We'll talk about the Call of Duty scene now, because this is obviously I mean, the general audience that would watch this is Call of Duty people,
right?
Well, I hope so anyway. But in terms of Call of Duty, it's a scene that you have you've got strong opinions over. I do know that much. I've seen your 2 or 3 appearances you've made on Spitfire now, and in pretty much all of them, you made reference to at least your opinions on the COD League and what's going on. I know you're going to enjoy this bit. I know factually you're going to love this bit.
Right.
We'll start by talking about how you sort of became interested in Call of Duty, because if I remember correctly, it's like one of your first esports, right? That you
it's the very first one, yeah. So I started with COD 4 right when it came out. So is that late
2007, 2008, right?
Yeah, so yeah. I started then. I'd probably say like January or Christmas time. So yeah, basically we'll say start of 2008, went back to COD 2 as well, played that. So I've played every COD since then, basically. And yeah, I was playing against Vital Dan, I was playing against Sours and all the teams back then, back when Dexerto had a C instead of an X. It used to have it was a forum where it had its own competitive rule set and stuff there, which was different to game battles, which was MLG. So it was very much, I don't know, it was kind of welcoming in the sense that how I am with my friends now, all we do is just take the piss out of each other, and that's how we converse and that's how we get on. That's how Dexerto forums were for me, and yeah, just going and trying to beat everyone else. It's just, that's how esports starts, right? It's just like, it was that, and I never got to like a pro level by any means, but yeah, I discovered it in COD 4 and watched since then. Basically, there were times where I took little breaks and such, when I thought I was too cool for gaming, and decided to sell my Xbox and try and move on and just go out and play footy with my mates and drink all the time. Then you come back to it because I realised that's what I was really into, you know. But yeah, so 100% the reason I found esports, 100% my first esport title that I was into, and it's very much my favourite to watch. Not this game, probably not the same for the past couple. I haven't enjoyed them too much. But yeah, COD very much the reason I'm in this job and got this career now.
Yeah, I mean, Call of Duty, as you say, it's as you say, it's sort of the esport that got you into esports, right? Mm-hmm. Now, though, Call of Duty is changed quite dramatically over the past few years. It started as an esport which was based on open events. It was based on grassroots esports support. It's now very top heavy. It's become the I guess I was going to say it's become the NFL of esports, but Overwatch League was already that, even though it's not really succeeded as I think as well as they might have wanted it to. What is your opinion? I think we'll open it as a general question.
Okay.
How do you feel about the Call of Duty League? I mean, and then I'll just let you sort of go off on a tangent about everything to do with franchising and COD and the Overwatch League as well. I guess we could touch on as well.
Okay, so considering the current climate, I'd be remiss to not mention coronavirus a little bit. Mm-hmm. Based on that and the events being cancelled, I've not seen one person say they missed the COD League.
I think we've talked. I think this week because we're waiting on news because what is it this weekend? What is this weekend that we're supposed to get for the home series that was supposed to happen this weekend?
I don't know. I'm at the loop, mate. It's been a week. I haven't left my house. I don't have a clue what's going on.
We're waiting on news, basically. Right?
Okay, well, I haven't seen people pining over it. I haven't seen everyone go, "Oh, I really miss this brand new league that we've got with brand new teams where players are being put with other players that we've never seen play together before." And so I've not seen any of that. Whereas NBA, for example, or Premier League, every single day, even if you really care about those leagues or not, you see people fucking crying over it and doing things to get over it. Like NBA, they're doing 2K matches with the teams that would be playing on that week and stuff. There's none of that for COD. Like, it's just, I don't think this product as it is going to last. I don't think it's going to be successful. There's nothing that points towards it going to be a success. If anything, it's going to be successful for Activision Blizzard and making 25 mil off everyone, and then probably a decent amount in sponsorship. But that's about it. And yeah, I don't know, man. I feel COD needed something, right? It was obviously not growing, and if it was growing so slowly, so minusculely. It didn't really feel like it at all, right? And it obviously wasn't quick enough.
When did you say that started, though? Because COD had like a massive growth period, like Black Ops 2, right? That was like the big jump for me.
Yeah, personally. But with every new title that comes out, it just changes shit too much, and there's a 2-month adjustment period, and then at the end of the season, it's probably a 2-3 month wait or something for the most part, besides 1 or 2 smaller tournaments and shit, or like online shits. You know, it's just I don't know. I think partially the new title every year it works against the esport in general. It's almost like it's a brand new esport every year because the game changes significantly. Yeah, of course, it's fundamentally the same unless you're adding jetpacks and shit, but or then taking them away. Like, that changes a lot. But fundamentally, it's the same game, but then they just change too much. Like, they should have one title where they update it every couple months, every 3 months, maybe every 6 months. CSGO doesn't have to like reinvent itself every fucking year, and it's still fucking growing.
Although it might be soon, though, right? Because I've heard they're moving to Source 2 as an engine. I don't know.
But they say soon. I don't think it is soon. And I don't think it would replace Global Offensive as it is. All the signs of that is growing in terms of viewership and player base. Like, it would be the most stupid thing right now to do that. In terms of Overwatch, where that game's just fucking dead, it's just the same, like, maniacal, fanatical, absolute cretins, anime profile picture pricks that are obsessed with Overwatch League. No one else really cares. So, and
Jesus.
I don't want COD to go that way. I really don't, because it has potential, but I don't see the COD League by any stretch of the imagination. Not one part of it makes me think, okay, this is going to succeed. Like, they need to lean into the personalities of the players so much more, because we're one of the scenes that actually has players with personalities, right? And we don't want to police that. We want to show it off. And I think we could do a lot more about that. I think the hype battles are absolutely shit. It's just a way to plug in some
100%.
shit celebrities who don't care about COD any other time, so they're not really that relevant. Michael B. Jordan ain't going to bring in 100k viewers, and if so, they're going to be some lasses who fancied him from Creed and Black Panther, and they're going to leave instantly afterwards. Like, what are they doing? I don't understand it, mate, and I can't see a world in which it succeeds in its current form. And I understand we're only just getting started. Things could change a lot, but we've seen with the Overwatch League, they don't really care about changing things unless it's making players fucking retire.
What would you say needs changing then? Because there have been a lot of comments, I think, about the COD League. The episode that you and I think it was Richard Lewis were on with Spitfire. You spoke a little bit about it, and Richard Lewis said that it would be dead within, I think, 3 to 5 years or something like that. Yeah. What do you think needs to change to stop that from happening?
Okay, well, immediately we can't. It's not easy enough for people outside of the COD community to find the broadcasts, and it's on YouTube, like the biggest platform. Like the amount of people they could unlock on there if done properly is insane. I know that's an early deal, or like the deal was still early into the deal, and I have faith in Fwiz, considering he's a COD guy himself, so he could turn that around. I think, as I say, the game. I don't think the game is fun to watch. And that's fundamental. Like, the game, you need to really get into it, and it needs to have a clear skill gap, and get rid of the fucking bullshit gentleman agreements. Just all create a fucking rule set that works. So the developer needs to work with the players more, because the players know what the fuck's going on. But then also, if it was up to them, they'd strip.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, like,
they'd strip everything and just have fist fights.
Yeah.
So
is the game at a basic level even competitive? I mean, this has always been a problem with COD, in my opinion. I think even with Black Ops 2, which is the most competitive Call of Duty there has ever been, and probably, in my opinion, will ever be. Even then, that wasn't at its base competitive. I mean, is that a problem with Call of Duty that it's always going to have?
It might not. It's hard for me to predict because I'm not a game developer and I don't know what the fuck's going on behind the scenes over there at the moment. They seem more keen to get Modern Warfare 2 out there and make another.
Oh yeah, that came out today, didn't it? Or yesterday? Was it? Well, on the time of recording, it was leaked either today or yesterday that Modern Warfare 2's campaign was being remastered for Modern Warfare.
Like, they just care about bags, which makes sense. They just want to get as many bags as they can, and esports isn't going to help too much with that because it's just like I don't watch COD League and then go, oh, you know what, I'm going to go on COD right now and try and replicate what they're doing. Like, that never happens. And I don't know, you see how many people like idolize Kobe and stuff like that, or Ronaldo or Messi or something. You don't really get that in this title, but in CSGO, everyone wants to be simple, everyone wants to be Zero. Like, I can't speak for too many of the titles, but yeah, 100% with like the old Optic, but it was only for the Optic boys and maybe one or two outside.
Maybe like Envy, maybe like Clayster, who had built up quite a good repertoire.
Yeah, but it's not at that level anymore. And I mean, we've got the people in place for it. It's just that, I don't think the title's very good at all. Like, the actual game itself, I should say, not the title COD League. Who really cares? It's better than COD World League anyway.
Wasn't it the COD Global League that was being rumored at one point as well, or something like that?
I heard something about that, but I was pretty sure they were just going to go as simple as COD League, which makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's overall. So if you think of the problems, right? Like, they've got to try and make money at every event. That's a problem within itself because Call of Duty isn't popular or as popular in every single city, right? And plus, we don't even know if they're profitable anyway. We don't even know if Overwatch League events that they've been doing for another year, like a year since this, or before this, I should say, were profitable. No one knows. There's no transparency there. I don't think they are. And they're going to have to do something insane to make it even worthwhile for me to hop out. But what are they doing for people who don't care about COD, who they want to convert into COD fans. What are they doing to make these events attractive? Like, I don't know what the economic report is on say the event that we had in Atlanta, for example. I would love to know that. Like, Riot Games have done that for the Rotterdam finals for the LCS Spring or LEC Spring. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
But like, you actually know how much money it's bringing there and the kind of impact it's having. But you hear none of this stuff with COD, and it's the same for a lot of other esports. But I don't know if the events are profitable, which is shit. The viewership isn't great, which is shit. Like, the hype battles are shit. The game is not very good. Like, I don't know. I think all of those things need to change, or else the league will not be successful. But even then, I just don't know if COD's the right title. I think it probably leans itself more to being entertaining than competitive.
What, the casual scene? Because that's always been like a problem with COD, right? Is that casuals don't like the game. I was actually having a conversation with a housemate earlier on today who said that Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was the game where they stopped playing COD because it became too competitive, which I think is such a big problem, because I think one of the big things with it's the reason that we went to 5v5 was to try and attract casual fans and players into the competitive scene. Is that ever really going to happen though? I think that's like sort of the big question. Like, are we ever going to be able to properly merge competitive and casual Call of Duty?
They should be able to. League of Legends does it well. CS:GO does it well. Like that, the availability is there. I think what casual players need, if you're trying to convert them into a competitive fan, is something to aim towards, right? And a potential competitive player. So, for example, if I'm starting out on 13, I need to be able to discover COD League, or that competitive gaming exists, right? And that will start with ranked play, or by the fact that they can advertise in the client as soon as you load it up. So while you're waiting for a game or whatever, it could show COD League coming to Atlanta, blah 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 time, watch the broadcast here, and it could be embedded like it is in Rocket League, for example. But you need these players who have the potential to become the next stars in a decade or 5 years or whatever, to replace Scump and Clay and Crim when they all retire, which is going to happen in the next couple of years, unless the bags get silly, unless they're getting paid $2 million a year, they're going to have to retire because they're just not going to cut it anymore. But there needs to be a clear path they can climb to get there. Like in football, for example, you go Sunday League and then you might get scouted and go trials, and then you're in an academy and you build up that way. You know, there's no clear progression here at all. And it's a problem that esports has as a whole, and we're getting there with like collegiate programs and grassroots programs and semi-pro as like ESL Academy and such. But COD does suffer from that, where there's no ranked mode, so you don't even get a taste of playing really competitively. You just get people sat in a fucking corner camping with a silenced MP5 and then shoot you in the back and get a UAV out of it and then continue to do it, you know. I think that's a very big problem, and one they will look to solve, or at least should, if they want to one, inspire the new wave of players, and two, like build up a bigger fan base of people who are going to watch and get invested in what's going on.
I suppose a good point you made there actually is the lack of progression in Call of Duty. I think the general point you just made anyway. This year we are supposed to have the 3 tiers of the COD League, the 3 steps, I think, in the logo, right? You've got the community, I think, which is the bottom one, the challengers, which is the second one, and then of course the pros, which is the top one. Do you think that the current system we have is good for amateur Call of Duty players, challengers, in its current form? I don't know if you're entirely familiar on what the setup is, or...
I see it as no stream and as low price pools. That's basically the setup. What they did was they've kept the same kind of setup at the events themselves, but just given less opportunities for these amateur and semi-pro players to show what they can do. Because one thing COD was great at was, say, you come to champs and then there's a team that makes it all the way through and ends up into the top 16 or ends up in the top 8, and then they're suddenly mingling with the pros and getting a chance with the professional players, and before you know it, you've got Facento and all these people you'd never heard of before just come in and take over. And it's just, there's none of that now. There's no chance for these pro players to play against these semi-pro players and to really see where the gap actually lies between them. And it's not going to be very viable for amateur and semi-pro players to ever practice against the pro players unless it's in like a 2K or something, to then get better and learn from, you know? So I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's definitely a step back from where it was 2, 3, 4 years ago in that sense. And yeah, the setup at the moment, I don't think it's great. I mean, we had to put public pressure on Chicago to put the prize pool up.
To take away that stupid prize of meeting
Yeah, it was
Hex.
absolutely. They got ridiculed, and then they listened. And then LA, for example, they what did they go to? Did they go 25K, 30K?
They went to $25 and $1. That's $25K and $1, which is what they did.
Yeah, but that was 2 franchises. But they cover the cost of what one has been doing almost by default. But the thing is that it's not even mandated for these franchises to have any additional prize pool. It could just be the 10K from the developer, from the league itself for these challenges. It's ridiculous, and I don't know. I don't really know what they're thinking. Obviously, the viewership isn't going to from streaming. You're not going to get huge numbers from streaming challenges, but I still think it's a necessity. I still think you need to put some spotlight on them and show that you give a shit about them. Or else why am I going to aim towards it if I can't make money and I can't get any chance of any popularity, notoriety? Then why am I going to fucking bother?
I think one of the suggestions that I've said before, I would like to see the hype battles gone and then challengers finals on stream. I think that's a really good happy medium. I don't
agree,
because I've seen the numbers. I've spoken to people at challengers and asked them why do we not have streams, and the numbers make sense from a perspective. It's like it doesn't make sense to spend the amount it costs to get a fully produced stream with casters and a producer sitting there and all the gizmos for a stream where you have less than 2K viewership on each match. I would like to see the finals on stream. I think that's sort of the happy medium. It's getting there. That's what you're aiming for at each event. There is we're going to be on stream. We're going to get that sort of I guess. We get to have the performance where then maybe a pro team can notice us and bring us onto the site. So I think that's the happy medium personally. I definitely agree with what you said earlier on. The hype battles are, I think, really bad.
They're not very hype, are they?
No, I think there was the funny one with Censor getting twatted at London. That was funny.
That's just because it's Censor. You can't have him on every time, you know.
Yeah, it's Mad Cat and Censor who are the complete opposites in terms of personality. Mad Cat gives no shits, and Censor is absolute whiny.
Walking PR machine.
Yeah, he just.
Also, as you say though, with showing the final for each challenger series or event, that can help create the narrative. So hasn't Singularity won 2 out of 3 or something?
Yes, yeah. So, well, if you're talking events, Singularity have won they've won 2. They won Minnesota and London, and then they've come second at Paris and LA. So out of the 5 events we've had,
that's a good narrative to build.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll get people invested and actually want to watch the finals. If they're in it again, can they get the 3-peat? You know what I mean? It's just there's little opportunities there to build up a fan base for them and actually serve the amateur and semi-pro community that they're not doing.
Yeah, that's the problem. I think, like you say, it's you've got this big challenges, and this isn't a knock on challenges. I love the guys; they know what they're doing to an extent. They know kind of what needs to be done for challenges, and they are actively working on it.
Right. But
I feel as you say, there are storylines to be built, and it's kind of hard to build those storylines around challenges when you're not seeing those stories take place. So yeah, that's currently sort of the state, I guess, of COD and challenges. This year, I don't know what's going to happen this year because we've got coronavirus. Coronavirus is the biggest effect I think I've ever seen on esports. I mean, I'm young. I'm 21 years old. And weird flex. Yeah, weird flex. 21. 21 the other day. But
happy late birthday. I missed it. My apologies.
It's fine, Adam. Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, this year coronavirus in my very short life, coronavirus has had the biggest effect I think I've seen on esports. It's been completely bowled over. And this is sports has been destroyed as well in a way. But as you say, there's been somewhat of a recovery with the NBA 2K League streaming the matches and such. But esports seems to have been sort of cut off incredibly. What happens this year? Because esports is dead in the water. The COD League's inaugural season has been completely it's out of their hands entirely, but it's been sort of sidelined entirely by coronavirus. It's kind of horrible.
I would disagree on esports being absolutely killed by coronavirus.
It's good in a way.
We've 100% kept shit moving. We've proved that as an industry we are much more robust and resilient than sports, just because we can make shit happen online. Of course, there's a reason we don't play online usually, and that's because it's not as good as LAN, right? But we can keep shit moving. We can keep people entertained. You see now, like Blast, for example, are putting on a show every single day with different casters and hosts and such, and personalities and players. Like, that's keeping shit moving. Like, sports can't really do that. ESPN's struggling to find out what the fuck to show right now when they've got a whole esports branch, and
Esports,
they were
yeah.
partnered with Overwatch League through ABC and Disney and such. Like, it's just, well, we've proven that we can keep shit moving. Of course, shit is happening because the money, it is being fucked with. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, the events aren't running, and that's where quite a bit of the money comes from. But so COD League will move online, or what it'll do is it'll move 4 teams here, 4 teams there, 4 teams there, and they'll play their own kind of matches in a LAN environment,
LAN,
but
yeah,
very
studio.
closed off. Say in like 12 weeks time. Say if by then things are better in the US, probably not. It looks fucked in the US, but say in the UK, if we actually sort our shit out, then perhaps people can come and play in London. I think we'll keep it moving. It'll be just as shit as it was before anyway, so it's not really a big deal. But no, I think esports as a whole, we've done quite well considering, and I think we will continue to do so. What we will see, though, is a consolidation of organisations. I tweeted out earlier. So we saw Reciprocity, who was obviously in COD until quite recently. They've gone bankrupt. I don't know if they said that in their statement, but they did. They've gone bankrupt, and they're also looking to do reverse takeover to therefore become a public company. And with the economy crashing, that's absolutely fucked them. And then we've got a couple of organisations that I can't name at the moment, but one's selling, one's trying to merge with another organisation, and a bunch of shit's going on. So probably that will actually probably affect Call of Duty Challenges at some point. I would say there'll be some more players without a place to call home, really, and not get funding from and such. But it will affect us. I think if anything, it just kind of accelerates the course correction we were due anyway in esports, with all these inflated numbers and inflated injections of cash where it's not actually validated and quantified why that amount of money is there. I think it'll actually help bring that forward and, as I say, consolidate things, help people scale back and realize that they don't always need to spend as much cash as what they are doing. It'll make people really consider their operations. Like, I can tell you now, it hasn't been announced yet, but Evil Geniuses are going to drop out of Rainbow Six. Like, they've worked out that it's not a financially viable esport for them to be in with the team they've got and such, so they're out. For example, they'll announce that soon, I'm sure. Maybe the day this drops, or maybe a week later, who knows. But and more of that will happen. Like, Chaos just dropped out of Dota 2, for example. Like, people are now streamlining operations and working on things where they can actually perhaps make money. And that's a good thing for esports as a whole. Obviously, it's shit. A lot of people are going to get affected by it. But moving forward, we should and must have a much better and healthier industry, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. We'll see what happens with coronavirus. What I was going to say, actually, because, I don't know, it's a little bit... This is business side, so you might know this as well.
Hit me with it.
Because developers are also kind of going to be fucked with this, right? Surely, because obviously you can't develop a game with all your workers not coming to work. That's just
remote work.
Remote work is a thing. Do you think the next Call of Duty title might be delayed by coronavirus? At the very least, it might see some issues in terms of its development. Because to me, Call of Duty titles are a little bit rushed anyway, especially with the rumors about Black Ops 5 or Black Ops Remastered or rebooted, whatever it is.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Everything gets rushed and pushed out despite it. Like this league was rushed to fuck, but they still banged it out anyway because they had to meet a deadline that they'd arbitrarily given to someone, or they were arbitrarily given to from the people above them. So I don't think they really care about delivering the most polished, perfect product to begin with. We've seen that they can push weekly updates and shit if they really need to, and I don't think they care about delivering the perfect product. They just want to deliver the product with the most hype and excitement around it as they can, cash in as much as possible, and then partially deal with the problems later on. So we could get pushed back to, say, November again. Perhaps it's hard to predict at the moment because we don't know how long the lockdown and quarantines and such are going to go on for. Say if it's just 12 weeks and people are working remotely, obviously not as well as they were when they're all in one place or in a couple of studios as such. I could see it happening, but if this goes on for months and months and months because people refuse to stay indoors, or we find out the virus is much worse than what we initially thought, then it's hard to say, and I'm certainly not a virologist, so I can't speak too much on that. But so I'd say like if it could happen, 100% could happen, and like for example, so the Eternals, which is a Marvel movie company, the visual effects company that's working on it are still working on it now from home despite the lockdown to keep it moving. So
although that might be delayed because of all of the other films getting delayed. It's like Black Widow's been delayed,
but still, they're still working on it despite. And visual effects is fucking ridiculously monotonous and time consuming and takes ages just to do one scene, you know. So all I'm saying is like they can keep shit moving. I think. I don't know how it affects developers too much because I don't have many sources within developers. Because that's the game side more so. I'm more focused strictly on esports. I'm very much a purist. I don't give a fuck about video games, but I love esports. Like it's a weird thing in my head. But so it's hard for me to say. I could see a world in which it's pushed back a bit, but I don't think it will be. I think they'll rush it out and push it out, and that'll be it.
Fair enough. Right, then we'll ask a final question then to you, Adam. Final question. Same question as I asked you last time. For those people who would like to get into journalism, and journalism, whether it be in esports or sports or whatever, what have you, what advice would you give them? Where would you say someone should start looking to get into journalism?
Start for yourself. Don't expect to go and get paid shit tons and make a career out of it without any experience at all. So start a medium, start your own website on WordPress, whatever it may be. Write it in Notepad and then save it, or write it in Notepad then delete it. Who cares? Just work on writing. Well, once you can deliver a story in the most understandable way possible, because that's what journalism is all about, right? Delivering the facts and making it digestible. It's not about using big words. It's about how you put the words together to portray what you're trying to portray and convey whatever the message and the point is. So work on that. Once you got that part, read some books, read some articles, ask for feedback, reach out to people. It's as I say, it's just networking and it's just writing basically. And there's no life hack for it. There's no magic trick to get into it. It's just being decent at writing, like tempering your expectations so you're not expecting too much too soon. If shit happens quicker than what you imagine, then that's good for you. It's a bonus. And yeah, just reach out to a lot of people, get to know them, ask people how they've got to the position they're in. Reach out and say, can you read through this quickly and let me know your thoughts? Like, people are more than happy to help as long as they ain't got 100k followers and they're not going to see your message. If it's someone like me, I will help, or I'll at least try. If you're beyond help, then I can't do too much, but I'll still try, you know. And there are quite a few people who are beyond help, I tell you that. But I still try and help.
How honest?
I may not be the most friendly person, but I try and help the next people coming up because we need more good people doing what I do.
How honest are you with people when they do that? What you tell them that it's just this is.
If they hand me something and it's like English is their seventh language and they're from England with a full English family, then I just tell them, look, mate, like being a conversationalist or like writing is not for you. You should try something else.
Okay.
I've done that before, maybe 3 or 4 people.
That's fair enough. I appreciate that quite a lot. And again, honesty, I think, is always appreciative. And I think that's what people love about you, Adam. So
they may not want it, but they need it.
Yes.
That's what I think of it. So
fair enough. Right, well, that's closing thoughts. Adam, have you got anything to add at the end of this?
Hopefully your audio isn't fucked.
Oh, God. I know
you didn't mention that at the beginning, but I'm going to call you. Your audio was fucked, so hopefully it's good this time.
I turned mono off. If it's on again, that's it. I'm done. I'm never doing a podcast again.
That's a big rip. Another closing thought is keep going with this, mate. Even if this gets 1 view and it's just my mum watching this one, keep going with it, man.
Is your mum going to be watching this one?
Maybe. I mean, I put out quite a lot of shit. I can't imagine she keeps up with it all, but I also don't doubt a mum's pride. Stay safe, everyone who's watching this. Stay the fucking side. Don't go out unless you're going for a walk or to get fucking some milk or pasta or something. Don't be stupid with it. Don't think, I'll be fine. I'm not susceptible because I'm young. People who are young, who are 21, perfectly healthy, are dying, man. So just fucking stay in. The quicker and longer you stay inside, the quicker and sooner we can fucking go outside and crack on, and everyone can get jobs again, and people can go back to the office. People can see family, friends, loved ones again. So I'd say that's it, man. And I just don't want people to be stupid, but I know that's expecting too much sometimes.
Yeah. In other words, stay the fuck inside, everyone.
Stay the fucking inside.
So films can come out again. That's the big reason. You won't get to see Black Widow until or No Time to Die, which was like one of the first films that got delayed to it. You won't get to see it unless it goes on home video, which I don't know if that will happen or not. We'll see.
Not with the big ones, probably.
No, not with the big nuts.
Don't be selfish with it. Think of everyone else.
Yeah,
basically.
No one's going to see those films if you guys don't stay the fucking side. So that's your priorities. Thank you so much, Adam, for coming on. It's been an incredible 1v1 once again. And again, for those of you at home, you're watching this maybe on the Twitch or on the YouTube. It's live every Thursday at 9 p.m. This one will probably go at 8 because I've got a double whammy this week. So just because I fucked up last week. So it's 9 p.m. is the regular time every Thursday at twitch.tv/Beyond the Call. And if you are watching it on YouTube or you're watching this on Twitch, the VOD will be available on my YouTube at youtube.com/infinitycast. Thank you again, Adam, for coming on, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of the 1v1 show.